Good afternoon and welcome everyone to Getting Personal with Parkinson's, a weekly Facebook Live conversation series. I'm Caroline Colas. I'm the Senior Director of Health and Wellness for the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan and the Program Coordinator for the Edmund J. Safra Parkinson's Wellness Program supported by New York's largest healthcare provider, Northwell Health. For over 12 plus years, the JCC has been hosting programs for individuals living with Parkinson's, and you can find out more about our programs and join us on www.mmjccm.org/Parkinson's. Please take a moment right now and share if you are on Facebook with us so others can know that this is happening live and can join us. Today, I am so looking forward to introducing you to Zarella Martinez, a zesty, amazing lady. Zarella is a chef and a restaurateur who opened her first restaurant, Zarella's, in 1987, featuring traditional regional Mexican cuisine, which was groundbreaking at the time. It was a first for New York City. She has written 3 cookbooks, hosted her own show on PBS, and was named to the James Beard Who's Who in Food and Wine in 1987. But that's not all. In 2017, she released her first album as a singer, Sad Songs from My Happy Heart. And in 2020, along with her son, Chef Aaron Sanchez, she launched a podcast, Cooking in Mexican from A to Z, on Heritage Radio Network, which is very popular, and you can tune into that. I think they take like one ingredient and then they expand on it. It's an amazing show. In 2019, Zarella began treatment with Inbrija, which is an inhaled formulation of levodopa to treat Parkinson's during off episodes, periods when levodopa's effects wear off and symptoms reoccur. That may happen to you. And she has found this to be really helpful. And as part of her partnership with Accorda, who developed and marketed the Inbrija, Zarella created a new cooking show called A Taste for Life with Zarella. So Zarella and I spoke recently, and I wanted to share with you our conversation. If you have any questions while watching our conversation, you can put them in the chat, or you can email me or Whitney Chapman at wchapman@mmjcc.org, and we will happily answer them. And now, on with the show. Zarella, it is so much fun to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for the introduction. It's certainly detailed.
Well, you've lived a full life, and I wanted everyone to know.
I know. I'm one of those people that has to be on all the time, I would like to be relevant, which is very hard for people with Parkinson's because there are so many challenges. And one of the reasons that I started singing is because, people with Parkinson's generally have a lot of trouble enunciating. And rather than doing this boring voice therapy, I do singing, which I love to do, and it cheers me up, and it has a dual purpose, like everything I do.
Now, do you sing when you cook?
Yes, I sing all the time. I sing actually songs that I sing with my mom, that I used to sing with my mom. And they're songs that I grew up. I'm I'm completely bilingual and bicultural. So there's a whole Mexican side of me, and that's where I do the singing. I can't sing in English except
I do English,
but I can't put the emotion that I put into singing in Mexican, singing Mexican songs.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. Let's start just by, maybe we'll get you to sing a few bars later in Mexican. You're a song. I work with my dad, and I have him, he had a stroke a year and a half ago, and I have him sing while he works out songs from his childhood. And it's really comforting to him.
That's nothing that brings you back even more than a Madeline, than singing, to a previous time in your life, happy and sad.
You have this full life. And then all of a sudden, you were diagnosed with Parkinson's. How did that happen? How did Parkinson's manifest for you?
Well, it depends. Actually, we've gone back, and it started in 1987. I was under a period of great stress. I was having a lot of anxiety attacks, like out-of-body experiences that were very cool, because I would get out of my body and look at myself up into the bed. It was kind of weird, but but that's basically the first manifestation. I was getting a massage. I had the worst anxiety attack that you could imagine. They had to call an ambulance, and from that day forward, I started clawing my left hand, and that's when they started checking to see what it was. So even though I wasn't diagnosed in 2004, the first manifestations of it were in 1987, which is when I opened my restaurant. Which is, usually, sometimes it is impulsed by a very, very,
Stressful period.
difficult, stressful situation.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's good, to let everybody know. I know we want to exercise, we want to eat well, and we want to manage our stress.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. So,
And you want to have a pet that loves you, and so she might come in and bother us, Carmelita.
that's fantastic. I'd love to meet her. Your restaurant, Zarella, was groundbreaking in bringing traditional Mexican cuisine to New York. What inspired you to do that?
Well, everybody was doing, when I got here in 1983, everybody was doing this Tex-Mex sort of combination of kind of starting to bring in Mexican food. But the photos guidebook of that time said the Mexican food that's available in the United States bears the same uncomfortable resemblance that a howling monkey has to men. And it was true. It was a total aberration, and it wasn't really Mexican. So when I came, I had met just the right people, and they had this party and invited all the press, and the press couldn't believe the flavors. And Suzanne Hamlin wrote one of my favorite quotes. That said that it was almost like discovering colors. So the press was very influential in my deciding to open up that restaurant, which was very successful for 24 years until the
Wow.
Parkinson's got really bad, and then I couldn't work it anymore. It was too stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. As we said earlier about really managing that stress and how important that is. And everyone, I encourage you to go to Zarella's website and read about her past and all her contacts and what she's been doing. It's quite inspiring. But let's talk a little bit about being a chef and how food is so important to you, and how you love to give people living with Parkinson's hints on how they can use food and nutrition to help them manage their symptoms. So tell us more about that.
I'm sorry, Julia. I think that people get full with flavor, not with the amount of food. So it's very important to have food that's very flavorful, because people with Parkinson's tend not to eat very much because it's too much trouble to make it. So what I've developed is a system of building blocks. Let's say that you have salsa. You make a delicious pico de gallo salsa, and then you have leftover, or you make it especially for that. You saute it and add zucchini and cheese and corn, and then you have a vegetable dish like in a flash. Or you saute it and add eggs, beaten eggs, and then maybe some corn chips at the end, and you have huevos a la mexicana. Or you add like spices and then cook fish in it, and you have my red snapper hash. So I've developed the system. There's another one, tomatillo, which is another flavor that everybody likes. It's tart and refreshing and wonderful. And you add an avocado and some shrimp, and you have a shrimp cocktail that's really wonderful and healthy. Or you saute it and add quinoa to it and chicken stock or water, and you have a delicious starch that has all this nutrition and delicious tartness. And the thing is to make the food really good and really easy to prepare.
Oh, I love that. Really good and really easy to prepare. And as you said, people get full when they have tasted all those wonderful flavors, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
People with Parkinson's tend to lose the ability to taste things. So you want to make sure that you develop taste memories, when you start becoming aware of the Parkinson's, so that you can sort of get them back when you're eating a certain dish. And try to remember that, what it tastes like.
So let's talk about that a minute. I haven't heard of that before. Taste memories. So if I was, for example, wanting to develop my taste memories, what would I do? I'd
Well,
have certain dishes often, or
just make all the dishes that that you love, and then write down how to make them. Because in case you forget and you want to have people make it for you, you have it all written down, or where to find it. So because it's so important to just be able to close your eyes and have this taste memory, of what was so good. Like I love to make this albondigas, this meatballs. My mother used to make, and she added mint. And there was a faucet, and I grew up in a very large cattle ranch in Chihuahua, Mexico. And the faucet was always dripping, and the mint grew all around the faucet. And whenever my mother wanted to make albondigas, she would go out and chop it and add it to the stock, and it was just delicious. And that's what I think of when I think of meatballs.
oh, beautiful. And I love that because it uses so many parts of the brain, right? We use the sensation of smell, we use the sensation of taste, we activate the memory. And
Yeah,
I love this idea of creating taste memories as a way of even not only enjoying our food more, but doing something we call savoring. And savoring is
exactly.
where we take like about 90 seconds and we just feel it with our whole body. And apparently that is really good in terms of relaxing and reducing stress, which is what you were talking about. So does cooking release your stress for you
Oh,
now?
absolutely. I mean, I cook when I'm happy. I cook when I'm sad. It's something that I love to do. It's my major creative expression.
Is
To be able
cooking.
to cook, and I love to entertain. So that's in Mexico we believe that you honor people by cooking everything by yourself. And one time when we were at the ranch, there were outposts where the cowboys lived, and they to avoid cattle rustling and all that. And all my cousins would stay at the ranch for a large part of the summer, and we'd go out and visit them. And we'd happen to come to one of the houses, and she says, "How come you didn't let me know? I don't know what to make for you." And he said, "I know. I'm gonna make enchiladas, but I'm not gonna use the blender. I'm gonna remove the pulp of the chilies with my hand, and I'm gonna put my essence in it, and that's gonna
Mm,
be my gift to you."
wow. I love that you're talking about essence and love, right?
Yeah,
It seems to me like you said, make the recipes that you love and then write them down so that if you can't do it, somebody can do it for you. You said that she took the chilies that
the pulp.
out with her right with her hands so she would put her essence in them. Love seems to be, and passion and zest seem to be themes that run through your life. And I wonder, and family too. I understand that you have created a podcast with your son, and let me make sure I'm saying his name right. Chef Aaron.
Aaron. Aaron. So
Aaron.
just like Aaron.
Aaron.
It's Aaron really, but it's
Aaron.
Aaron. Like
Yeah, I love the
it's
way
like
you
in
say it.
Hebrew.
Yeah,
Aaron.
Aaron
Yeah.
Sanchez. I have to ask, do you guys agree on your recipes?
Well,
Um,
we have different styles, but what this podcast is very original because we concentrate on one ingredient or a family of ingredients. Corn, vanilla, chocolate, pasta, rice. We did a rice one with Rick Bayless, which was fabulous. They gave him my quote, which is that my mom used to say that when you cook rice, you would cook it until it sounded like sand. So it was
mm,
just kind of a real visual thing. And so the podcast is very interesting. It's very popular worldwide. So it's a lot of fun. And I had to beg because I said I wasn't doing anything, and I said to her, I want to remain relevant, and I want to do something like a podcast. So here we are. We're about
oh,
to go into season 3.
Wonderful. Wow. And we'll put the information so people can access your podcast. It sounds to me like you have lived a very sensory life, that
Absolutely.
activating your senses has been something that's really important to you. Do you think that by doing that in some way, that's also a way to help manage Parkinson's symptoms?
Oh, absolutely. I've had this for 33 years or 34. So you just imagine, I did my entire career with Parkinson's. And so the thing is that I have a certain philosophy of life. You choose the way you feel. And I feel very strongly about that. That if I feel like shit, I say, I'm not going to feel this way. I'm going to feel good. And then the other thing is, I always say to myself, can I do something about it? And that's one of the things with Parkinson's, that that you can't do anything about it permanently. But you can certainly do things on a daily basis and make things a lot easier.
Beautiful. So, and by concentrating on what can I do about it, or how can I feel better, in a way, you're taking control. As you said, you can't control the impact of Parkinson's on you, but you can control or have some impact on what you are feeling in the moment, and it can make you feel better. And it sounds to me like you're using your senses, touch, smell, sight, taste, to make your life more enjoyable, right? And more
livable
alive.
Too. Livable, because let's face it, this condition is not fun. So the thing is that you have to make. I'm thinking of moving away. I mean, we can't really say where or anything, because I'm getting to a point where I'm going to need more care. And if I'm in Mexico, I can have all the care I want and be as spoiled rotten as I want, and I'd like to be. So anyway, so I was telling that to a very dear friend of mine. She said, Zarela, very few people think of happy solutions to difficult problems. And this is a very happy solution for me. So anyway, I think that that's important to keep in mind, no matter what the problem is.
I love that you said happy solutions to challenging problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real philosophy of life. You've created a cooking series in partnership with Accorda, the makers of Ambrosia. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are. And it's a wonderful drug. This is an inhalable form of levodopa for when you have an off period. And my off periods is I can't walk. That is my major problem. I can't walk. So the Ambrosia, maybe I use it. 10 minutes later, I can walk. But the thing is that I don't know if I was supposed to say that detailed. But
no, that's fine. Yeah. That's how it affects you.
Yeah. So it's been really helpful.
So for people that want to know more, Ambrosia is an inhaled form of levodopa to treat Parkinson's during off episodes, periods when levodopa's effects kind of wear off and the symptoms reoccur. And it sounds like it's helped you by enabling you to walk.
Yes. Well, now, because that's my major problem, freezing and not being able to walk.
Yeah. And what motivates you and keeps you going? You're such a go-getter.
Well, I'm just a very positive person, and I mean, to me, the word no doesn't really exist. I used to tell my kids, don't tell me you can do it, just do it. And that was like my mom used to be, so she taught us how to do that. And I'm just like, I love life. And I have lots of friends, and I like to enjoy them, and I like for them to enjoy me. I love that quote by Evelyn Waugh that says, we love our friends not for their ability to amuse us, but for our ability to amuse them. And so I like that. I like that. So that's why I entertain. And that's a very big thing about Parkinson's, that a lot of people end up being alone for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons we have our program and this series is that, during COVID, so many people were homebound and alone. And also, just in general, Parkinson's, we have to fight it a little bit. It wants us to get smaller. It wants us to not move as big. So it's almost like I just interviewed the neurologist, Rebecca Gilbert, and she was saying it's almost like we have to push against that stream, that tide. And do you agree? And if you met somebody newly diagnosed with Parkinson's, what would you say to them? What would you like them to know?
That, when I met, when I was first diagnosed, I was a very good friend of Oliver Sacks. And I called him and I told him, he ran over and he said to me, he demonstrated physically what was going to happen to me, the stoop, the shuffling feet, all this. And I said, no, it isn't. I'm going to beat this shit. Well, I haven't beat it, but I have developed a method of dealing with it. Because you forget who things are, and you have to develop a methodology for living life so that you're not wasting all the time looking for things and feeling frustrated and all of that. You have to be kind to yourself and do stuff that's fun. You have to find out something that you cannot live without doing. And for me, it's like singing and entertaining and meeting people, and that I cannot live without doing that.
That is amazing advice. Find something that you cannot live without doing, right? That you can still do, right? In some ways, we've had several people on that have said, I couldn't do it the way that I used to, but I found a way to adapt so that I can do something similar.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for spending your lunchtime with me. We'll put the information in the comment section about your books and your podcast and your amazing website so people can read about the incredible life that you are leading and have led, and you certainly have inspired me. If you're interested in learning more about our Living with Parkinson's programs at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan, please see the link in the comment section below to fill out an intake form. It's really short, very simple, doesn't take long. So don't sit home alone. Come join us. And
so I'll just sing a little bit for you. Sabes de que tengo ganas de perderme en esta noche y entregarme a tu cariño. Sabes de que tengo ganas de dormir desde este viernes y despertar el domingo. Sabes de que tengo ganas.
Oh, brava. Woohoo! I love it. I could feel the passion.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much. What a treat.
I just have to tell you one thing that people always told me at the end of an interview when I was gathering recipes. They always said to me, gracias por tomarme en cuenta. Thank you for taking me into account. It was a lovely interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking me into account. Well, thank you for spending time with me and sharing your heart and inspiring not only me, but so many.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Wow. I hope that you feel as inspired as I do. Just watching that, I love Zarella. Thank you for taking me into account, she says. And thank you for taking our series into account. Thanks for joining me today. Our weekly conversations are designed to help put a face to Parkinson's, to introduce you to people thriving and living and struggling with PD, as well as experts who'll share their research and their techniques to help all of us, those living with PD and their families and their caregivers and those that love those living with PD. Live our lives better and fuller and more robust. If you want to be a guest, or if you know someone I should interview or a topic that we should talk about, please let me know. Contact Whitney Chapman at wchapman@mmjccm.org. She's the producer of our show, and she will hook you up, right? And you can come on the show. Now, speaking of shows, next week, we're going to be talking about the importance of posture, sitting up tall. So please tune in for Sitting yourself up for success with Linda Rose Ayanako, who's a dear friend and somebody I just adore. She's been teaching in our program since the beginning, and she's amazing. She's going to be joined by one of her longtime students, Pat Vega, and Pat actually named our walking program called Bold Moves. So she's our walking team for the Parkinson's Walk. So Pat's been around for a long, long time, since the beginning. And in addition to Pat's caregiver, Nolene Payne, is going to be joining us. They work out together. And that's something we want to talk about because when you work out with your caregiver, if your caregiver actually takes class with you, not only are you helping them stay healthy, but then they can learn some of the techniques to do when they're with you at another time. So it's an important part of the exercise experience for both someone living with PD and those that are taking care of them. And Linda encourages both people to take class, the students and those that are taking care of them. No need to go it alone. As I've said before, come join us. If you want to participate in any of our Parkinson's programs, see the link in the comments section to fill out our short intake. I promise it's short. And as well as view our current upcoming programs. And thank you so much for being here today. Please be well, take care of yourself, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much, everyone.